Hi everyone, Nick Giles here again. I've got myth number 6 in my series of videos I'm doing about myth busting and property leasing in New South Wales. And this one is another really interesting one, and it's got to do with rent. And it's got to do with the price of a rental property that a landlord sets. And the myth goes something like this: I don't want to set the price too low on my property or I'll attract a low quality tenant. This is an interesting myth, and it shows a little bit like the video I've done recently about the increase in rent. It shows a lack of understanding about the relationship between rent and quality of tenancy. And there's a few things to consider here, but let's go back to what incentivizes a high quality tenant to apply and occupy a property. And it's essentially this idea of value proposition. I have a property that I've put onto the market for lease. It's in competition with other properties and it's got a price next to it. And we look at how the price matches that property in a competitive marketplace. And what you want is you want high quality tenants looking at that advertising, looking at that pricing and that value proposition and saying, I have to apply for that property or I risk missing out on it to another tenancy. It's really, really important. Think about that reaction you're looking to get from your market. Now, if you price your property at the other end of the scale, if you overprice your property, if you get it too high, what happens? Well, we could say we don't get a lot of interest. We could say that, it might be a little bit more of a struggle to lease our properties. We all know what happens when we overprice a property. There's an unexpected things that happen sometimes when you overprice a property, and that is you inadvertently encourage lower quality tenants to apply for your property. How does that work, Nick? I'm hearing you ask. Well, what happens is the high quality tenants are looking for the high quality value proposition. Why is that? Well, when you walk into a retail shop, none of us want to pay more for the product we're after than we have to. And that especially applies to high quality tenancies, paying for a roof over their head. Same as when we want to buy a property, same as when we buy anything at all. So when you price a property too high, you get the inverse effect. And tenants who have struggled to get properties are saying, you know what, I'm going to throw more money at this. But that's where the risk lies, because low quality tenants tend to have a much harder time finding properties than high quality tenants. And the thing about high quality tenants is they don't have to compete as hard to lease a property. It makes sense, doesn't it? If we all want high quality tenants in our properties. Every landlord does, which makes a high quality tenant a sought after resource. We're going after those high quality tenants. So we want them, and we want them to want to lease our properties. How do we do that? Well, we generate competition. So when we have got our property advertised in that marketplace, we want it priced competitively, not necessarily too low, although if you are too low, it tends to not really hurt the process. But let's get it right, because we want to maximize the return on our property. It's a cornerstone of property investment. But we want to price it correctly, not too high, not too low. We price it correctly. We're encouraging tenants to look at our property and go, that's great value for money. I need to apply or I'm going to miss out. That's how we function in the property leasing environment when we're incentivizing great quality tenants to apply. So far be it from this idea of this myth that if I put too low of a property, pricing a property, I'm going to have low quality tenants. It really isn't what happens. What does happen is you get a high quality amount of interest, and you tend to get multiple high quality tenants actually applying because they think that's a good opportunity. But in the end, what actually happens is you're driving the other direction. So there's a bit of a misunderstanding there. Overpricing a property has far more dire consequences than underpricing it, if that's what we want to look at. But the key thing here is to price it correctly, to aim your advertising at the highest quality tenants that you can, and to be aware that you're competing with other landlords for those high quality tenants, and we need them to look at your property thinking, wow, that is a great proposition. So think carefully about this when you're leasing your property, that you want to get it right. You don't want to overprice it, because then you'll alienate good tenants. You won't actually encourage them, you'll alienate them because they'll be looking for value that your property doesn't represent. Very, very careful, really important stuff. Look forward to myth number 7, guys. See you soon.